What's up guys, Rex here. So, a little bit different of a video today, I guess. And so I don't know if it's going to be more educational or more ranty. We'll see what it turns into. But I want to talk about neuroticism. Alright, so this is, I guess, almost going to be an intro video because I want to do a couple more videos on the topic of neuroticism related to the neurotic pre-med or neurotic medical student, because I feel like that term gets thrown around a lot of oh, don't be such a neurotic pre-med, or all these neurotic pre-meds are driving me crazy, whatever it is. And even outside of the pre-med circle, I feel like the word neurotic is used, and it's very rarely used correctly. So this is sort of an intro video that hopefully you watch this before you watch any subsequent videos I make about neurotic pre-meds, so you know what I mean when I'm saying neurotic and what it actually means when someone who is trying to be a little bit scientific uses it. So neuroticism is a personality trait, and it is one of the big 5 personality traits. So now, I'm not a social scientist, and so I don't have a huge opinion on the reliability or validity of the big 5 personality model, but it divides the main 5 personality traits into openness, conscientiousness, agreeableness, extroversion, and neuroticism. And even from what I've read, there's sort of not huge agreement on what neuroticism is. And so one definition is sort of poor interpretation of stressors, that when your body experiences some stress, if you are high in trait neuroticism, you are more likely to misinterpret that stress correctly. So you might interpret a slight danger as it's going to be the end of the world, I'm going to die kind of thing, and so you might be overreactive and stuff like that. Another definition is being sort of more variable, and so just with that comes impulsivity, and be less likely to be one who can use delayed gratification. And so that's another interesting definition. Although I think, to me, and excuse me, so for that definition of neuroticism, there actually is some interesting science of people who test high in trait neuroticism, while there's no difference between those in low trait neuroticism when it comes to doing just a reaction time test. There is a statistically significant difference in the variability, and so that is sort of adds to that sort of unpredictability thing of having different reactions and being spontaneous and stuff like that. But so I think sort of what I will be using as my definition of neuroticism is having negative reaction to, sorry, a car was going down the wrong way. That was interesting. And it sounds like they're getting honked at now. Sorry, getting distracted. So I will be using neuroticism in the definition of someone who is more reactive to negative stressors in particular. And so I think this has good evolutionary psychology basis, of that there is an evolutionary advantage to that, of you will be more careful that if you hear something go bump in the night, you might overreact, and so whether it is a tiger or not, you are less likely to get eaten by a tiger in the case that it is. And then of course that can be maladaptive at a certain point, that people who are high in trait neuroticism are more likely to suffer from anxiety and depression. And additionally, women, broadly speaking, test higher in trait neuroticism than men do. And I think that there's good evolutionary psychology background of that being high in trait neuroticism makes you an especially good mother of an infant, in that if you hear something go bump in the night and you really make sure that that's not going to eat your child, that is more likely going to result in you passing that on you having your genes passed on, because your child does not get killed by tiger. And if you are really low in trait neuroticism, when your child is playing on the edge of a cliff, you're less likely to react, and that child is going to fall off the cliff more often, and your genes don't get passed on. And so I think that definition of trait neuroticism, of being someone that more likely reacts significantly or overreacts to particularly negative stressors or negative experiences, that is my, for now, working definition of the personality trait of neuroticism. And so someone who is neurotic will have a more significant reaction and experience more negative emotions in the event of a negative stressor or a negative life event. And I do not think any of the personality traits, whether it is openness, conscientiousness, agreeableness, extroversion, or neuroticism, are inherently good or bad. I think being way too low or way too high definitely can lead to personality disorders. So being not neurotic at all, that's not good, because you will have like no empathy for others or understand what it's like to have a negative emotion, or you are going to be very cavalier and unsafe, that if a negative thing is potentially going to happen to you, you might not react at all, and you're going to be jumping off of cliffs and breaking your leg and stuff. And if you're extremely over neurotic, that can be maladaptive and predisposing you for depression and anxiety and stuff like that. So that's my definition of neuroticism, and I'll be following up later in some videos probably talking about my opinions on, are premeds super neurotic? Why are premeds super neurotic? Why are medical students so neurotic? Are medical students as neurotic as premeds? So if you want to hear my thoughts on any of those questions as a first-year medical student and former premed student myself, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Any questions, comments, or concerns? How do you define neuroticism? Did you learn something in this video? Do you disagree? I would love to learn if you disagree. Let me know in the comments down below. I'll read and respond to every single comment. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video, dislike the video. And until next time, don't be ordinary, go be great.